Beloved child of God, I need you to stay here with me for the next few minutes, because this moment is heavier than you realize. This is not dramatic language. This is not exaggeration. This is the weight of heaven pressing gently but firmly against your life. Something has been approaching quietly, not to destroy you, not to punish you, but to stop you before you fall too far into a place you won't recognize yourself. And the reason this feels uncomfortable already is because your spirit knows what your mind has been avoiding. You did not arrive at this moment by chance. There is a reason your heart feels unsettled right now. There is a reason your chest feels tight even as you listen. There is a reason your thoughts have been restless lately, even when everything around you looks stable. God is not trying to scare you. He is trying to slow you down before speed becomes damage. You have been strong for too long without being restored. You have been responsible for too many people without being held yourself. You have learned how to survive pressure so well that you no longer recognize it as pressure. You simply call it life. But heaven calls it overload. And overload always demands a pause, one way or another. There is a level of tiredness you are carrying that sleep does not fix. There is a weariness that lives in your emotions, not your muscles. You wake up already feeling behind. You go to bed with your mind still racing. You laugh in public while your soul quietly leaks courage. And because you still function, you tell yourself you are fine. But function is not the same as health. You have been saying yes when your spirit has been whispering no. You have been taking on responsibility that God never assigned to you. You have been fixing what you didn't break, carrying what isn't yours, and feeling guilty for needing rest as if rest were a betrayal of purpose. Somewhere along the way, you confused exhaustion with faithfulness. But hear the Lord clearly now, draining yourself is not a spiritual gift. Destroying your own peace is not obedience. Sacrificing your health on the altar of expectations is not holy. You were never asked to bleed endlessly for everyone else. There is a warning moving through this moment, not as terror, but as mercy. Because when the soul is ignored long enough, the body eventually speaks for it. And when the body speaks loudly, life is forced to pause. God is saying to you now, not as threat but as rescue, choose to stop willingly before you are stopped unwillingly. You have been postponing rest like it is a luxury you will earn later. You have been telling yourself, just a little more time, just a little more pushing, just one more season. But seasons stack up when rest is delayed. And when too many seasons pile on top of one unhealed heart, something must give. Heaven is not impressed by how much you endure quietly. Heaven is concerned. You are not losing favor because you are tired. You are losing strength because you keep pretending you are not. There is a divine intervention hovering over your schedule right now. And it will feel like disruption if you resist it. But it will feel like relief if you welcome it. God is preparing to sit you down, not because you are in trouble, but because you are too valuable to let collapse teach you what obedience could have taught you gently. You think the danger is in slowing down. But the real danger has been in continuing this pace without permission from your soul. You have been ignoring inner alarms and calling them discipline. You have been silencing conviction and calling it maturity. You have been pushing past pain and calling it strength. But strength that never rests eventually becomes weakness. I need you to understand something very sacred right now. God is not trying to remove your purpose. He is trying to protect it. He is not trying to take your momentum. He is trying to save your future from being built on a cracked foundation. You've been waking up with silent dread. You've been feeling pressure for no clear reason. You've had moments where your breath felt shallow, where your thoughts felt heavy, where your joy felt distant. You told yourself it's just stress. But heaven sees when stress becomes signal. The Lord has been whispering to you softly for a long time. Through fatigue. Through emotional waves that came without explanation. Through moments where even things you once loved began to feel heavy. You sensed the warning, but you kept moving because stopping felt more frightening than continuing. So now the warning is louder. Not because God is angry, but because He is close. This is not a prediction of disaster. This is a prevention of collapse. This is the moment where you are being told in advance, if you do not create space for healing, healing will demand space. And it always costs more when it is forced. You do not need to break down to be permitted to rest. You do not need to lose control to be allowed peace. You do not need pain to validate your need for stillness. God is giving you permission now. Permission to slow down. Permission to breathe again. You have been parenting everyone's needs except your own. You have been leading from a place that has not been led into rest in far too long. And leadership without renewal eventually turns into silent suffering. The interruption that is approaching does not come with anger. It comes with love disguised as urgency. And urgency always feels uncomfortable when we are addicted to speed. You keep asking God to bless what you are building, but He is asking you to protect what you are becoming. Because you can gain everything around you and still lose yourself inside. This is not the end of anything. This is the beginning of your recovery, if you choose it. Right now, this moment is your exit ramp. You can continue driving at this speed and let circumstances force your stop. Or you can take the ramp willingly and rest without damage. And I need you to hear this part clearly, because this is where most people misunderstand God's warnings. A warning is not a sentence. It is an invitation to change the outcome. What is trying to be prevented is not embarrassment. Not delay. Not inconvenience. What is trying to be prevented is deeper loss that you cannot yet see. And this is only the beginning of what needs to be revealed to you. Because what comes next will explain why this pressure has been building, what spiritual forces have been watching your fatigue, and why choosing rest now will protect things in your life you didn't realize were under threat. My beloved child, what you are feeling right now is not just exhaustion, it is exposure. When a soul grows tired, it becomes visible in the unseen realm. Not weak, not defeated, but visible. And what becomes visible also becomes targeted. The enemy does not attack people at their strongest. He waits. He observes. He studies patterns. He watches the moment when prayer becomes rushed, when joy becomes distant, when rest becomes postponed. That is when pressure intensifies. Not because you are losing, but because you are close to something valuable. And this is the part few people ever realize. Your weariness did not appear randomly. It is connected to what you carry. People who hold weight in the spiritual realm feel weight in the natural. People who are assigned purpose feel pressure in the physical. People who are marked for impact often walk through silent battles no one applauds. You are tired because you matter. You are exhausted because something in you is dangerous to darkness. The enemy is not afraid of your noise. He is afraid of your alignment. He is not threatened by your busyness. He is threatened by your clarity. And exhaustion is his favorite fog. Because when you are tired enough, you settle. You compromise. You silence intuition. You tolerate what you used to confront. Fatigue blurs discernment. Overload weakens boundaries. And when boundaries weaken, access increases. That is why this season has felt so heavy. You thought you were just overwhelmed with life. You thought it was only pressure from responsibilities. But part of what presses against you is spiritual resistance. You are standing near a shift you weren't supposed to reach broken. So heaven stepped in with urgency. Not to remove you from the battlefield permanently, but to heal you before the next level of resistance appears. You do not need more motivation. You do not need another push. You do not need someone to tell you to just stay strong. What you need right now is restoration. And restoration cannot happen at the same pace that caused the damage. The reason the interruption feels threatening is because speed became your identity. Productivity became your proof of worth. Movement became your shield against feeling. And now God is asking for stillness, not because you are lazy, but because you are wounded in places that only quiet can reach. There are things breaking off you that will never fall in noise. They fall in silence. There are lies leaving your nervous system that will never leave in chaos. They leave in calm. You have been surviving storms for so long that you forgot what calm feels like. You became fluent in crisis. You adapted to pressure. You learned how to operate while hurting. And God says, that adaptation protected you once, but it cannot become your permanent atmosphere. You were not meant to live alert all the time. You were not meant to brace yourself every morning. Some of the anxiety you feel is not fear, it is your soul asking for space. And this is where the warning becomes choice. You can keep pushing until your system demands stillness through breakdown. Or you can choose stillness while you still have strength. Both will stop you. Only one will heal you gently. The interruption that heaven is preparing is not about punishment. It is about alignment. It is not about shutting your life down. It is about recalibrating it before it spins out of balance. It is not about taking your purpose. It is about preserving it. You believe the worst thing would be losing momentum. But the worst thing would be losing yourself while keeping it. You have been out of rhythm. Not out of faith, out of rhythm. Out of balance. Out of breath. And when rhythm is lost, even good movement causes harm. God is not asking you to quit your calling. He is asking you to carry it correctly. Because purpose carried without rest eventually becomes burden. Calling carried without renewal eventually becomes captivity. Assignment carried without peace eventually becomes prison. You were never meant to feel trapped inside your own responsibility. This message is not meant for everyone. It is meant for the tired leader. The weary helper. If this feels like it was written directly for you, it's because it was. God does not send warnings to shame. He sends them to protect. And protection always comes before impact. There is a future version of you that cannot be reached with the exhaustion you carry right now. The clarity you are asking God for requires the rest you keep postponing. The wisdom you are praying for requires the stillness you keep avoiding. The peace you want cannot live in the pace you are maintaining. And this is the truth your spirit has been running from. You do not need another emergency to convince you. You need permission. And God is giving it now. Permission to choose a different rhythm. Permission to put something down. If you receive this, something that was scheduled to break will bend instead. Something that was building toward collapse will soften. Something that was pressing toward pain will reroute into peace. But this is not automatic. Warnings only protect those who listen. You have reached the place where the next decision matters more than the next effort. Where the next surrender matters more than the next sacrifice. And the next part of what must be revealed to you is this: why certain burdens entered your life in this season. Why certain people began relying on you so heavily. Why your emotional capacity started draining faster than before. And why choosing rest now will block an attack you didn't even see forming. My dear child, there is something you must understand now. something that was hidden from your awareness until this precise moment. The pressure you've been feeling is not only about work, responsibility, or emotional weight. There has been an unseen process unfolding around your life, something subtle, something strategic. When fatigue grows unchecked, when rest is delayed again and again, it creates openings, not in your faith, but in your defenses. And those openings invite burdens that were never assigned to you. Some of the heaviness you are carrying does not belong to you at all. You picked it up through loyalty, through compassion, through trying to save what God never told you to rescue. You absorbed emotions that were not yours to hold. You took responsibility for outcomes you were never meant to manage. You allowed other people's urgency to become your emergency. And slowly, without realizing it, you became overloaded with things heaven never placed in your hands. You thought you were just being kind. You thought you were just being dependable. You thought you were just being strong. But strength without boundaries quietly turns into self-neglect. And self-neglect is the quiet doorway through which burnout enters. The reason you feel scattered lately is because too many voices have been speaking into your spirit at once. The reason your focus feels fractured is because you've been carrying more than one assignment at the same time. The reason your peace feels distant is because you've allowed too many emotional weights to share space inside you. And God is saying now, with tenderness and truth, some of what you are carrying is not yours. And some of what you are fighting is not your battle. You were not created to be everyone's refuge. You were created to be my child. And this is why the warning came with urgency. Because when you carry what doesn't belong to you for too long, it doesn't just tire you, it misaligns you. It pulls you subtly away from the center of my will and shifts you into survival instead of surrender. You begin to react instead of respond. You begin to function instead of feel. You begin to endure instead of enjoy. And the enemy loves exhausted believers because they still believe, but they no longer breathe. You still pray, but you rush. You still worship, but you're distracted. And leaking vessels do not stay full for long. There has been an attempt to attach weariness to your identity. To make you think this tired version of yourself is who you are now. To convince you that this is adulthood. That this is maturity. That this is what it costs to be responsible. But that lie did not come from God. God never called exhaustion your permanent name. Some of the sadness you couldn't explain. Those were not signs that you were failing. They were signals that your soul was overdue for rest. And now the Lord is intervening not by removing your responsibilities all at once, but by demanding your attention before responsibility becomes destruction. The warning you are hearing is not about what will happen to you, it is about what can be prevented through obedience. There was an unseen escalation building. A slow stacking of pressure. A quiet multiplying of strain. And heaven saw the trajectory. Heaven saw where it was headed if nothing changed. That is why the voice became loud now. That is why the urgency increased. Because there are seasons where silence is not mercy, action is. You have been asking God for direction. And His answer is coming in this form: stop. Not stop living. Stop confusing pressure with purpose. This next decision is not small. It is not casual. It is not optional. It is the difference between bending and breaking. The strange thing is this: you are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. But exhaustion has been blinding your perception of it. You are near an answer you prayed for months ago. But fatigue has made it feel invisible. You are standing at the edge of change. But because you are tired, you only see how far you still have to go. Rest restores perspective. Stillness sharpens vision. Quiet rebuilds strength. Without them, even miracles feel heavy. The interruption that feels frightening right now is actually mercy arriving early. It is protection arriving before damage is complete. It is love arriving disguised as inconvenience. And if you accept it, what was meant to knock you down will instead lift you up. But I need to tell you something with full honesty now. If you ignore this moment, the pressure will not disappear. It will only change its form. What whispers today will shout later. What nudges now will shove later. What warns now will force later. Not because God is cruel, but because God refuses to abandon you to self-destruction. And you are not self-destructing because you're evil. You are self-destructing because you are tired and don't want to disappoint anyone. You are exhausted and don't want to fail anyone. You are overwhelmed and don't want to let anyone down. And in trying to save everyone's expectations, you have been slowly losing yourself. Heaven is saying now, gently but firmly. You are allowed to disappoint people in order not to destroy yourself. You may lose some approval when you slow down. But you will gain your breath back. You will gain your clarity back. And what you gain will far outweigh what you release. There are things waiting for you on the other side of rest that cannot reach you at this pace. There are insights waiting that only arrive in quiet. There are healings waiting that only manifest in stillness. There are answers waiting that cannot be heard in constant motion. And now the final truth of this revelation must be shared with you. This interruption is not only about what you are losing. It is also about what you are being protected from losing. There are areas in your life that are still fragile. There are dreams that are still forming. There are relationships that are still sensitive. There are strengths that are still growing. And exhaustion threatens all of them quietly. That is why heaven moved early. My beloved child, now we have reached the deepest part of this revelation, the truth heaven wanted to place in your spirit from the very beginning. Everything you have heard until now was the path leading you to this final understanding. There is something precious in your life that God is fiercely protecting, and this warning arrived to shield what exhaustion was quietly putting at risk. There is a part of your destiny that is extremely time-sensitive. A door you are close to walking through. An opportunity that aligns perfectly with who you are becoming. A breakthrough that has been forming behind the scenes. And though you could not see it clearly, the weight you've been carrying was slowly bending every area that needed to remain firm before that moment arrives. This is how heaven operates. God warns before something vital gets damaged. And the truth is, your tiredness was beginning to reach into places you thought were untouched. It was affecting your choices. It was diluting your confidence. It was dimming your creativity. It was pulling your heart away from things you once loved. And if left unchecked, that exhaustion would have caused you to step into the next season without the strength required to sustain it. You prayed for elevation, not knowing elevation requires energy. And none of these can be carried into your future while you are running on emotional fumes. That is why the warning came like a sudden divine shout. That is why the message felt heavy in your chest. That is why something inside you felt exposed, even shaken. Because God is not just protecting your today, He is protecting the version of you that is about to be revealed. There is a relationship you need to enter with clarity, not with exhaustion. There is a decision you need to make with strength, not with depletion. There is a blessing you need to receive fully awake, not barely standing. Heaven is preparing you for something big, but pressure was preparing to steal your readiness. And what exhaustion steals slowly, interruption prevents suddenly. Right now, in this sacred moment, God is untangling you from burdens you were never meant to carry. He is tearing away the layers of tiredness that were clouding your vision. He is pushing back the spiritual weight that was trying to settle on your shoulders. And he is whispering, if you rest, what was threatening to break you will instead become the reason you rise. This is not punishment. This is prophecy. You are being rerouted away from destruction and toward restoration. And the beauty of God is this: He warns before the storm hits, not after the damage is done. You are being given the chance to stop something heavy from becoming something harmful. If you take this message seriously, if you slow your pace, reclaim your breath, create boundaries, listen to your soul, and honor the rest God is asking for, then the forced stop you almost walked into will be replaced by a gentle slowing that heals instead of harms. And here is the revelation that heaven pressed into my spirit with such weight: something you deeply love is being preserved by this warning. It may be your health. It may be your calling. But most importantly, it is you. Your identity. Your strength. Your clarity. Your joy. Your purpose. These were beginning to fray at the edges. And heaven said, enough. The Father is stepping into your life like a protective parent who sees the danger ahead long before the child ever notices. He is not stopping you because you are weak. He is stopping you because your future is too strong to risk losing. He is not slowing you down because you lack discipline. He is slowing you because the journey ahead requires more than you currently have to give. You are not being paused, you are being preserved. You are not being halted, you are being healed. You are not being delayed, you are being prepared. This is the part many will miss, but you cannot afford to. When God interrupts, it is always to prepare you for something you prayed for. You asked for breakthrough. Rest is the preparation. You asked for direction. Stillness is the preparation. You asked for peace. Slowing down is the preparation. You asked for elevation. Restoration is the preparation. Do not mistake this divine warning for punishment. It is one of the greatest acts of love He could give you, the chance to rewrite an outcome before it ever happens. And so now, the final truth must be spoken plainly. If you honor this call to rest, if you listen to what heaven is urging, if you release what is draining you, if you stop running at a pace that was never meant for you, the crash that was forming will dissolve into clarity, the collapse that was nearing will transform into calm, and the interruption that felt frightening will become the very thing that saves you. You will rise again, but differently. Not hurried. Not hollow. Not exhausted. But whole. Your strength will return in waves. Your mind will clear. Your spirit will expand. Your heart will feel lighter. Your steps will feel guided again. And you will look back at this moment, not with fear, but with gratitude, because heaven stopped what you didn't even know was on its way. So listen closely one last time, child of God, choose rest before rest chooses you. Choose peace before pressure forces surrender. Choose healing before exhaustion demands it. This is your divine moment of preservation. Your sacred pause. Your spiritual rescue. And on the other side of this obedience is a future that looks nothing like the fatigue you're leaving behind. Child of God, before you leave this sacred moment, I want you to seal what heaven has spoken over you today with action. This is not pressure, this is positioning. When you like this video, you are not just tapping a screen, you are declaring that you receive this word into your life. When you comment, I choose rest, or I receive God's peace, you are making your faith visible in the natural realm. And when you share this message, you are becoming a vessel of rescue for someone else who is silently drowning in exhaustion just like you once were. Obedience multiplies when it moves through your hands. And let me release this blessing over you right now. Every person who partners with this message by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. May the Lord refresh your spirit, restore your strength, open divine doors you didn't even knock on, and place supernatural peace over your home that no storm can shake. May your sleep become sweet again. May your mind become quiet again. May your joy rise again. May your body feel light again. May your destiny feel possible again. And to those of you who feel led to sow through the $30 super thanks, listen to me carefully. This is not about money, this is about alignment. As you release from your hand, may God release from heaven. As you honor this word, may God honor your obedience. I declare unexpected provision over you. I declare surprise breakthroughs over you. I declare sudden rest in places where stress once ruled. I declare doors opening that no human power can shut. And I declare that what you give today will return to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over into every area of your life. If this message touched your heart, subscribe now, not just for content, but for covering. This channel is more than videos, it is a spiritual altar of restoration. And I decree that everyone who becomes part of this family will not walk alone in their battles again. You will be strengthened. You will be guided. You will be protected. Type Amen in the comments if you receive this blessing. Type I choose rest if you are responding to God's call today. Type I trust God with my future if you are ready for restoration. And as you do, may the peace of God flow through your mind like still waters, may your heart be healed from hidden weariness, and may your next season be lighter, brighter, and filled with the presence of God in ways you never imagined possible.